I want to assure everybody that my acceptance of giving this wasn't based on them giving me the Pulse Promoter Award. So, I'll get sick of my voice by the end of this. My wife's been saying that for 13 years. So what I want to do today is, many of you have heard me speak over the last decade on various topics at the Pulse Days. And what I want to do is I want to give you a little bit of a perspective on new opportunities, where the industry could go in terms of taking a look at some emerging opportunities to go higher up the value chain in terms of the pulse sector. So I want to challenge a bit, your imagination and challenge a bit your current view of where your pulses go and point to a few opportunities. Just to kind of give you an idea of our reach and all of that stuff, as I kind of said, we're known as the Saskatchewan company, but there's now 29 processing plants located throughout 5 continents of operations. I'll give you a few of ideas. This concept of a rural renaissance, I want to spend a minute talking about that. This actually came from the Growing Forward version 1. So that was released about 5 years ago. And, I wasn't a big fan of that document, period. But when I take a look at, a rural renaissance, a future in which agriculture provides societal solutions to energy supplies, health promotion, and climate change. Whatever producers and processors do, they must be done in innovative ways that resonate with their customers and consumers around the world. So, I want you to always think about things. I've said this for a whole decade. We don't grow things on our farm because we can. We grow it because there's a market for it. There's a client on the other end that's willing to pay a price for it that will allow you to make a return that is competitive with other crops that you could choose or will make you money overall. So when I look at agriculture today, we're not just hitting the breadbasket anymore. We're not just taking a look at traditional production. Impact of agriculture is far outside of just the sector itself. We're now touching the health sector. We're touching the energy sector. In energy, I always like to say, in energy, there's a couple of angles and pulses. Let's not forget, the whole world talks about energy supply. Oil and gas, right? That's all energy. That's what we think of. Human energy is protein. Okay, as pulse growers, we are in the human energy business. Okay, so as an energy source to the world, we crossed 7 billion or 8 billion, is it 7 or 8 billion people the other day. Okay, it's growing even more. The environment sector, I'm going to talk a little bit about that as we go forward. Even things of, our Wilkie, Saskatchewan plant, we have 7 new to Canada, they're immigrants that are already here. They relocated from Eastern Canada to Western Canada, and they're working in our Wilkie plant. 7 kids from the Philippines. So overall, the ag sector is touching a lot of different things in our economy overall. Now, what I want everybody to think about is, I said earlier, it's all about the consumer. So there's a global agricultural demand chain, right? It all starts with the supplier of raw materials. Producers supply the raw material. Manufacturers and processors process it into a retail distribution channel, which creates products, which actually is bought by a consumer. So when we look at that, each player in this demand chain has to satisfy the needs of the party above it. Each of the last 4 are critical in managing and creating a brand. So we need to start thinking more about the fact that we're building a brand for, Saskatchewan pulses, we're building a brand for Canadian pulses, and we're building a brand for products that can be made from pulses or pulse-based products. Agriculture has many opportunities to move up the value chain with packaged retail products, food, fractions, and ingredient markets. What I had said earlier when I was talking to some of the media folks is, we are the envy of the world because we have a functioning research partnership that is the envy of other cropping groups and envy of other sectors in the world. You grow it. There's a check-off, which is collected by the trade. It's submitted to a growers association, which you elect the directors to, that allocates research funds in partnership with government and other stakeholders to deliver varieties and research that is not done for curiosity, but it is done for commercialization. Okay, think about that. Research for curiosity is not something that makes us money. Research for commercialization makes us money. So, research in partnership with industry, we're becoming a major influencer in transportation infrastructure. Food safety and food security are driving the opportunities for identity-preserved, commercially clean food and ingredients made from pulses. And access to new markets and building existing ones will certainly give us opportunities to grow this sector as we go forward. So industry growth, traditional price-conscious markets are becoming increasingly commoditized. Okay, I've spent a decade of my career working on food, not commodity. Okay, so, that's the key word I want to take away here. You're not growing a commodity here. You are growing a protein, fiber, and starch product that will be delivered for largely human consumption around the world, and it will be eaten either as directly as a food product or it can be made into a food product as it goes forward. So the agriculture and agri-food industry needs to leverage nutrition, health, and the environmental profile to achieve our sector growth. We need to move forward in terms of thinking about, how you sell more peas to India? You drop the price. Okay, that's plain and simply how you sell more peas to India. Okay, so I don't want to be there, and I don't think growers want to be there. But where I want to be is I want to sell peas or pea fractions to food companies around the world who care about protein, who care about the fact that they're non-gluten ingredients, they're non-GMO, and they can replace soy, and they can be very competitive to enhance the nutritional profile, lower the glycemic index, and provide healthy foods for families around the world, and to provide more health and nutrition benefits to emerging markets that are struggling for basic protein. That's where I think we create value. So new approach is to build on existing strengths in non-traditional markets and products. We can tap into the growth potential for feed in domestic and international markets, and we can create value in all of those ways. So where are the opportunities I see? Where we're taking our company is pulse ingredients, flours, proteins, starches, fibers, premium pulses with market demand and consumption markets around the world. And how do we realize that potential? North American non-traditional uses for grains and pulses as ingredients and moving into industrial uses. When I look at the corn industry, you go to a large corn mill in the United States, and they are milling, 7,000 or 8,000 tons a day of corn. And what brilliant guys they are. They started to mill corn. And then they said, you know what, we're going to sell, high fructose corn syrup made from corn to PepsiCo. These guys are milling millions of tons. And when I went to these corn mills, there's like streams coming off, right? The fibers going over here and making biopolymer. The fibers going over here to make a fiber ingredient. The protein's making a high-protein feed ingredient. It's making a food product. The starch is going over to produce enzymes. The starch is going to produce ethanol. The starch is going to produce, high-fructose corn syrup. So all of these uses are what we call total plant utilization. That will create, opportunities for us as we move up the value chain with packaged retail products and food ingredients. We need to increase the Canadian milling capacity for pulses. Okay, remember what I said earlier. They said we would fail at origin-based processing. We've succeeded. As a country, we can succeed more. So why can't we mill pea flour, lentil flour, faba bean flours? Why can't we have inclusion in bakery products of pea fibers, proteins? Why can't we create that value in our rural communities and create jobs in rural Saskatchewan instead of shipping these to India and letting them do it there? We can compete doing it too, and we create value. I don't want to be in a position where when I'm shipping a 50,000-ton Panamax vessel of peas, I'm competing based on the lowest per unit price of protein in the world. Okay, I sell more when I'm a lower price. That's not what I want to rely on for a sustainable industry. The U.S. market is close in proximity and large in size. When we look at the United States market, 1 million tons a year of dry edible bean consumption in U.S. Hispanics. If you look at it, 87 million consumers in the United States claim some sort of U.S. Hispanic ancestry. They are traditionally eating green split peas, lentils, chickpeas, and dry edible beans. That's opportunities for us. That's opportunities to grow that. Non-traditional uses. You know, I was born and raised in Davidson, as I said, but a Turkish family. So we ate hummus when we were growing up. But how many of you ate hummus 10 years ago? And how many eat it today? You know, when we look at Sabra, anyone heard of Sabra Company? Right, it's owned by Frito-Lay, which is owned by Pepsi. Okay, that shows you how mainstream, you know, hummus has become in the households of Canadian consumers and global consumers. These are some of the things. Food industry statistics. Annual spending on food in the United States, $1.24 trillion. Functional foods and nutraceuticals, $50 billion. Sports nutrition weight loss products, $15 billion. Soy products market, $5 to $6 billion. Vegetarian markets, $1.5 to $2 billion. Okay? You know that $1.24 trillion, I'm not a greedy man. I only want 10% share of that. Okay? So, you know, we're okay. Like $124 billion is all we need for the Saskatchewan and the Canadian pulse industry. We're okay with that. We'll leave something for everybody else. I want a piece of this action. Top 5 food companies in the U.S. and Canada, $137 billion. Okay, every one of these companies now is involved in some sort of projects related to pulses, either as a rotational crop on their input or as a development of a food product in those particular areas. When I look at the top 5 global food retailers, $785 billion. Okay, once again, I'm not greedy. 5% of that one's enough for me. Top 5 food retailers in Canada, $60 billion. Okay, you're getting the message. We are in the production of food. If we seize the opportunity to create value, we are not dependent on whether or not India has a good crop or a bad crop, whether or not Turkey has a surplus or a deficit, whether or not Australia is good weather or bad weather. We will create our own consumption, and our focus needs to be the Americas, so North America, South America, Central America, and Western Europe. So this has to be a focus for this industry as we continue to go forward. So when I tour around the globe, Indian subcontinent, don't take my message wrong. Traditional markets are important. Okay, we will continue to service bulk vessels of peas into India. Okay, we need to move the volume of our product. But when we create markets of 500,000 to 600,000 tons of peas consumed in mills in Saskatchewan, Alberta, and Manitoba, we will affect the price. Okay, how many of you remember when red lentils were all exported? I would like to say when we put a mill in Regina, that at the time, in 2003, when we started up, we were consuming 40% of Canada's red lentil production in our mill. Okay? There was a positive impact on prices, meaning the rest of the world had to pay a price to compete for that supply. So value-added production here will certainly create value in all markets. So we don't ignore them, but we extract more value from them to make them pay a competitive price for the products that we're growing. So when I look at it, pulses are the main staple protein. Upcoming harvest, you know, in India looks to be average. Okay, I don't think it's going to be a total wreck, but nothing's reliable. I mean, the good news I have to tell you on my side today is we don't think India is going to be a bumper crop this year. So we think that 2012 is going to have, you know, some chance for some recovery in the markets. When we look at Turkey, the Middle East, and North Africa, you know, we have high pulse and grain consumptions with almost entirely import. Now, these countries have all been in the news, okay? Everybody asks me, what's the impact of Egypt, Libya, Syria, you know, all of Yemen, all of these countries going through their problems? And I say, a basic building block of civil obedience is full tummies. Okay, so governmental policy will be aimed at stimulating food import and will be aimed at feeding their people. Let's not forget that the original crises that happened, part of the root cause was food inflation. So when we look at that, this area of the world provides tremendous opportunity. You know, if you go back to 1989, prior to the Persian Gulf crisis of 1989, Saskatchewan's third largest trading partner in the world was Iraq. okay, because they import all of their food. So when we look at that, that's a very big opportunity. Europe, you know what? We have a new free trade agreement that's being negotiated by our government, and that's a very positive impact for free market access, tax-free, duty-free, level playing field. We'll have regulations that are defined, and the pulse industry has an opportunity to provide high ethnic populations within Europe, non-GMO, gluten-free ingredients, pulses, and proteins for development throughout the opportunity. Africa is the sleeping giant. Okay, they will definitely develop in the next decade, and they're a large opportunity. We've added a South African company recently in Johannesburg, specifically to facilitate the export of our Canadian pulse base into Southern Africa for distribution. So we think that those are also good opportunities as we go forward. South America, Colombia, Peru, Venezuela, Mexico. You know, we see these as markets that will buy every year. We see these as not having the competition of India, Turkey, Australia into the South American markets. So we see that as continuing to be one where consumption is growing and opportunities exist to get into, you know, higher quality. We see the quality of these markets going up, not down. In the world, it's a trend, and that plays in well for Saskatchewan pulse industry. North America, limited domestic consumption, but growing with ethnic populations. And there's a big increase in canola and pulses and farmer rotations, giving us an opportunity to have sustainable supply and an ability to develop a platform where we can go and convince companies to either develop or reformulate. Now put yourself in the position of General Mills. Okay, you're developing a breakfast cereal, new breakfast cereal that's going to be a whole grain. You want a little protein in there, you want a bit of fiber, and you know, you definitely want a nutritional profile that I said earlier. Kids want to eat it, mums want to buy it. Okay, so that's, you know, very important kind of a characteristic. Now you're a General Mills, or you're a Nestle, or you're a Unilever, and you come in and you say, you know, I'm going to have a little supply for you of pulses flours and this ingredient. You know, that company will not reformulate or formulate a product based on a limited supply of an ingredient. Remember, they are playing with their brand and their names. So from that perspective, the opportunity is to develop scale in this, to be able to make an economic case for the food industry, to be able to include these in future products and reformulate existing ones. When we look at North America, it's about packaged foods, hummus, dips, fortified and enriched foods. When you look at the value, you know, we're going to be working on things like our new pasta plant is going to be pulses and durum mixed. We're going to be developing pulses-based pastas, durum-based pastas, dips that are going to have different blends of pasta, of pulses, and there's certainly opportunities in all of those areas. When we look at China and Asia, it's all about the components. You look at China, in 2003, about 55,000 tons of peas went into China. In 2011, 550,000 tons. Why? Not because they're eating more peas, because they're extracting the starch for vermicelli noodle production. Okay, that's where the growth is. So we see those as opportunities to continue to go. Remember what I said earlier. Everybody said you will fail, and we didn't, and we won't allow people to talk about that way of our industry. Origin versus destination-based processing. Origin-based processing is producing finished goods. Destination-based is supplying raw materials. There's a balance for both. Okay, the mills all over the world aren't going to shut down, but we certainly can build some here, and we can sustain them here in rural communities around the province. On origin-based processing, we're located in proximity to where the raw material is produced. We can have direct supplier or producer relationships on contracting, on quality specifications, on delivery options. We can work into our agreements with retailers to help your cash flow, and we can control the quality of the ingredients and food products that we produce. So this is the rationale for origin-based processing. And we think that the transportation logistics system in the world has changed. Okay, you look at southern Saskatchewan. How many of you have heard of the Global Transportation Hub project? Okay, in Regina, there's a lot of hands that went up. In Regina, Loblaws, which is Canada's largest food retailer, has just is constructing or has just finished 1.5 million square feet of new warehouse distribution space in Regina. that will bring a forecast of 2,800 trucks per week into Regina of products that are going to be distributed all throughout Northern Ontario all the way to British Columbia. So that is all trucks that come in full with lawn furniture, other food products, rice, Pepsi, all different kinds of things for distribution through Superstore. And we can fill that up with Pulse's food products, ingredients, and we can ship them out to North America and to the rest of the world. So the dynamics have changed. We think that origin-based processing is going to be very viable. Reasons to mill here is grower relationships. We need to guarantee our quality. We need to create value. You know what? It is a simple thing. It's an open market. If we don't deliver return, you will grow something else. Okay? We can't make markets, but we can help to capitalize on markets. Okay? That's what our job is as the trade. So, you have very strong, established companies within this trade that are existing players, new players coming in from the international side, and we think that there's certainly an opportunity to create value for producers and premiums for in-demand varieties and characteristics. We talked about the transportation infrastructure as well already. So, that basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be targeting some of the markets that are willing to pay. We think there's a sustainable industry here that will develop, and we need to continue to recognize one thing. When we established this company a decade ago, somebody asked one of my partners out of Turkey, they said, why did you choose Saskatchewan? And we said simply, because of the partnership of the growers and the University of Saskatchewan and governments. That's why we chose it. And I can tell you, I was involved in writing the plan. Okay, and we were looking at Canada, we were looking at the U.S., and we were looking at Australia to build this company, the first step. Now, we're in all three, so I think we would have eventually been here. But the reason it started here was because of that research and development side. Where we need to go beyond where we are today is improving our knowledge of nutrition and health potential of pulses. The work of SPG, Pulse Canada, and other grower organizations across this country are leading us into a position where we're able to react. I was sitting down with one of the largest food companies in the world the other day. He said, Murad, don't think we are a sophisticated company. We might be billions of dollars in sales, but you must spoon feed us on how to use this product. So we need to know what's the ingredient, what's the functionality, what's the nutritional benefits, how will it interact with our other ingredients, what is the end products that we could produce from this so we can get our product development people to do it. So, many of you may have heard already, we're doing our part in that as well. We're just in the process of building a Pulses milling and research center here in Saskatoon. So Alliance Grain Traders is building a laboratory facility in Stonebridge area, Saskatoon. We've recruited a scientist by the name of Dr. Mehmet Talbek, who is, in my mind, one of the leading specialists in pulses and grain milling in the world. He was the last 11 years at North Dakota State University, heading up the Northern Crops Institute Pulses milling division, and we've relocated him to Saskatoon to start an initiative to be able to develop these food products that are going to be processed in these new fractionization and food ingredient plants that we're building in Regina and in North Dakota. So pulse ingredients, it's all about food products, right? Whole pulses become food ingredients, which become ready-to-eat food products, which equal increased consumption. Food companies are responding. Take a look at some of these here. You've got hummus chips, Sabra dips, Barilla Plus pasta. The fastest growing pasta brand in the United States has Saskatchewan lentils as the main ingredient in every box sold around the world. Okay, so we supply that into Barilla, which is the largest pasta company in the world out of our company. And that's been, as I said, it's in the U.S. school lunch program. It's the fastest growing brand in the entire country. So when you look at that, pulses and legume flour make up 50% of the blend of flour that's made for that pasta. So we see, food companies reacting. The next steps are identify the R&D priorities, consider the nutritional enrichment to bolster current processed pulse products, and to develop evidence-based health messages. So Pulse Canada, universities throughout Canada, and the grower groups are partnered together with the trade and governments to deliver some of this research. And we're going to see, major push and major progress over the next 36 months on this initiative. Product development success. Our objective should be more products with pulses on grocery store shelves, increased consumption of pulse food products. And when we look at it, it's not only about what the customer asks. Let's not forget about something. We have a green business and sustainability story to tell. Okay, the world cares today. Walmart, PepsiCo, McDonald's, these companies, large multinationals, are talking about sustainability of the products that they produce. If you look at the carbon footprint of pulse production in the Northern Plains, Northern Tier states and Western Canada, the lowest carbon footprint of any crop you can rotate through your rotation is pulses. Okay, when we use zero minimum tillage, we have the nitrogen fixing ability, we have a story to tell the world. Today, consumers are aware, maybe they won't pay for it yet, but they will in the future. So we see food with a message. Okay, I love some of these. Ben & Jerry's ice cream. More love, less handle. Okay, that's a great one, right? So it's all about the nutritional characteristics. Or love the bag that loves the earth. Sun Chips. So these ones, lovingly made, now fair trade Ben & Jerry's. Okay, so climate neutral from cow to cone is another one of Ben & Jerry's. So this raises awareness of climate change. It promotes climate change, college. There's all kinds of promotions that are going on now, making consumers more aware. And the younger generation is growing up more aware. My 10-year-old daughter, if she sees somebody throw a can away, she freaks out, right? She's like, she'll go into the garbage and grab it, and recycle it. That's great. That's awareness. To me, that's opportunity in the future to create value from the pulse sector. So conclusions. Agriculture is in the midst of the renaissance that's impacting many sectors of our economy. And opportunities for agriculture as we move up the value chain, we need to focus more on food, fiber, fuel, and feed. Okay? These are the opportunities. Remember, pulses are here to stay. People that talk about the wheat board coming down and pulse acres going away and all of these things, you have half the population that thinks the wheat board delivered a premium. Pulse has survived well over the last decade, haven't they? I mean, we look at the opportunity here, and it will grow. It will not contract if we do it right. And I believe we have the right players throughout the grower side and through the trade to be able to do it. Consumers are focused on health, nutrition, and the environment. So when you have people telling you, we need to sell more peas and products to India, yes, I agree. But we also need to look at all of these opportunities. I think that's it, Carl, or Morgan. I'm all done here. So thank you very much.